What is going on, y'all? Gamers Goon here today, following an electric night one, episode 1 of Survivor 48. Great episode. Great episode. Very happy with what we got. We started off Survivor 48. Now, I do have a lot of notes on it, so this will be probably 30-45 minute video, somewhere around there, so just be a little bit prepared. But we started it off with a cold open type of thing. First person we saw the whole season was Mitch receiving the Zoom call, hey, you're on Survivor. We got a lot of these different. I didn't write everybody that we saw during this. I think we saw Eva during it. The one though that stood out the most. Well, I put Mitch down because he was the first one, but the one that stood out the most was Joe. Joe, emotional. He made it. Obviously, we talked about Joe's story yesterday. Somebody that I'm very high on in terms of where I think he can end up in this game. So that shows you, hey, Joe's probably going to be a big factor this season. And then we get to the boats come in, like to the challenge, right? Or to the marooning, right? First person we hear from out of the boat is, hey, we're talking to Joe. Joe's talking about people that are going to be reliable. Sai, like the energy, starts off the season high. I called her it's Say, not Sai. I've done it again. I was thinking back to what I said. Sai. It's not Sai. It is Say. That is how it was pronounced today. Like the energy of Say, I think she'll be one of the more fun characters this season, hopefully, and we'll talk about Say later. An eventful night one for Say. So we're gonna have to pay close attention there with her. Eva, we got to hear from. She said she's gonna battle her tail off. She's gonna leave it all out there. So we got to hear from those three ones right there: Joe, Say, Eva. I'm just gonna spoil it out. I'm gonna spoil it a little bit for you. I love all three. Joe and Eva, we'll talk about their little thing later. Say, I love the energy that Say's bringing, playing the game hard off the bat. That's really what I wanted to see. Cedric is the next one we hear. He said he's going to ball out like his kids would say, like Cedric. Charity, I put Charity at number 2 for my Survivor 48 one. Let's just say I am regretting that one a little bit. I wasn't too impressed. We hear how she's been playing Survivor for years on a giant metal tube because she's an airplane hostess or one of the attendants on the airlines. Then we hit David. He said he's going to hold a sign that says, hey, you need to worry about me. And then we hear from Shaheen that right now he's just in a process of looking at who's on his team, sizing them up, looking over to the other tribes, who do they have, sizing them up also. Then we get to the Matt chat. Now, and the big question on everybody's mind, yes, Jeff, the big question on everybody's mind is, what got you to apply to play Survivor? Really? But first, the first one we hear from is Mitch. He talks about his life growing up with a speech impediment, and then watching Christy play with a disability, and that really made him know that, hey, it's acceptable. Hey, I can do this. Then we go from Christy to Chrissy. Then she said, and obviously we know we're repping Chicago. We're rooting for Chrissy. She says that she was there day one, first episode. She remembers it. Then we go to Kevin. Kevin's another one that I said I liked going into it. Started watching it with his dad. He became hooked watching Yule play in Cook Island. But those are pretty much it for the match chats. Those are the only ones we hear about. And then we go into the marooning challenge, and this challenge is kind of what we've seen before, right? You got to grab 3 chests, but you got to climb under a net with mud. We usually see this early on, where you got to climb under the net with mud. Um, and then you got to go get a key, unlock the chests. Once you unlock the chests, there'll be sandbags. You'll toss the sandbags up onto the little platforms. We've seen that a version of this challenge pretty much every New Era season. It feels like. I mean, I remember Q throwing the sandbags up, but we've seen some version of all of these different little challenges in this one challenge. We've seen it included elsewhere. But the thing that shocks me here, under the mud net, Kevin hurts his shoulder. He hurts his shoulder early on. Very, very shocking. I expected a little bit more out of Kevin when it came to that. But he hurts his shoulder early on. Just so we're clear. So a little bit of a red flag there from Kevin. A little bit of a red flag. Laggy gets to the keys first. They had a big lead here. Vula and Siva, they got to the keys about the same time. Didn't really matter, though, because Thomas, Star, and Shaheen, they all did the sandbags. They all hit the sandbags on the platform before anybody else even threw a sandbag. Laggy, dominant performance here. We'll talk more about Laggy later and their immunity challenge performance, but Laggy seems very, very strong. A team to watch out for. And that's not looking good for my predictions. I had 2 Laggys getting eliminated prior to the merge. I don't know. Do we even get 2? It looks like a pretty good group. It looks like a pretty good group there with Laggy. So then we get, and Jeff didn't call it this, but it was an extension of a journey type thing, where Vula and Siva had to go up against each other. They had to pick one individual to go on this journey / challenge where they'd compete against each other, and the winner would bring back tribe materials, so a pot, flint, a machete, all those type of things, right? So those 2 go off on their journey. We don't see that journey for a little bit. We dial it back. We start visiting the tribes. First tribe we go back to is Laggy. Their celebration of winning. So we see Laggy here. The first person we hear from is Thomas introducing himself, and what he thinks. And he thinks that he thinks he might be on the outs here. He thinks Bianca, you look at Bianca and think Bianca's potentially on the outs, because you look at the rest of their tribe with all these other Laggy, Shaheen, you look at it, Eva, you look at it with Joe, Star, I think I'm missing somebody. Who am I missing? I don't know who I'm missing. I might not be missing anybody. But you look at it, and you realize that Thomas thinks, hey, we're probably the weakest links. So he's a little bit worried. But the good thing for Thomas is he hits it off with Shaheen and Joe. So there's a trio right there. There's a little trio there. Those 3 together early on. And Joe, we love Joe. Joe finding a partnership early, really, really good. Thomas says he loves Bianca. So really, when we come to this Laggy group, the only person we don't hear Thomas talk about is Star early on. So Bianca wants to be in an alliance with Thomas, but we don't really hear much about Star here. So this is all kind of just Thomas and what Thomas thinks of the tribe here. And Thomas is in this trio. Thomas might have a duo there with Bianca. Thomas seems really intertwined there in Laggy. And that's great for Thomas's game, but spoiler alert, I picked Star to win. So that makes my prediction look really bad. Star did not have a good episode, and I am very, very worried about her. But then we get to Siva. We hear Camila. She says, or Camilla, she said she is excited to start causing chaos. And David's one of those guys, man. I think he's gonna be on the fringe of somebody that you don't really like, but you don't really hate. He was talking about he's kind of this guy that he's a little charming in nature, but he thinks very highly of himself. So he was talking about himself. He's like, I'm going to be the hero of the tribe, but I can also be the villain. I might charm you and try to get you to look past me being a physical threat, because a lot of people are going to think I'm a physical threat because I'm a stunt double, or I think that's what he is, or a performance arts actor or something. He does stunts basically, but David, you're gonna be looking at him and being like, he'll probably be pretty good at challenges. He's hoping to not let you think that. He's hoping, hey, we can be friends, we can be buddies. I have this soft side. He's gonna try to get you like that. So David's dangerous. I had David as a pre-merge guy. David scares me a little. David could make a run. I think he's got a lot of characteristics to make a run. I did like this episode out of David. Then we get to Vula. The first person we hear from is Cedric. He said he likes the tribe, but he thinks that the tribe are going to be underdogs. Then we get to Stephanie. Very excited to play, wants to make big moves, but is very concerned about painting too big of a target on herself too early. I was very worried about Stephanie. I thought she was going to play the game too hard. I thought she was going to be too eager. We didn't really see that this episode. Then we see Sai. I said it again. We see Say, Steph, and Mary. And they kind of form this preliminary, like, hey, are we going to work together? Not much really comes out of that. But then we get Say. Obviously, we get Say doing it with that group and trying to dictate an alliance already. But then we hear Say wants a core 4. That's what we get with Say. And then we see Say approach Justin and Cedric. She mentions the idea, says maybe we can add Kevin. Justin's like, you know what? I like it. Cedric likes it. I think Say's going to be... Well, actually, I wrote notes of like what I thought, but we'll leave that for after anyways. But Say already trying to get that core for Kevin, Cedric, Justin. Justin, not getting great vibes off of right now. He kind of feels like one to just sit back and let others kind of take the reins, and he'll just be happy to be there. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You can go quite a ways like that. I mean, one of my favorites of the last few seasons, Ben, he was one that kind of just got led in a direction. But I think we might be able to get something out of Justin, but not a great episode for Justin, in my opinion. Then we go back to the journey. We see Kyle and Kevin. Those are the two on the journey. Kyle says that losing, he felt horrible. He felt like he just needs to win the supplies now. He felt like he let his team down. This competition is one where they have to drag a rope and end up getting a machete at one point, cracking open a coconut to get a key that would help unlock the flint. I don't know. It was a really weird challenge with a lot of weird parts that I didn't really understand. And I also wrote this down here. Kyle doesn't really understand the challenge. He runs into Kevin doing the challenge, so that's how he figured out to use the machete on the coconut. And oh yeah, and then there's the pot. Kevin then tried to climb the tree to get the pot that they had to get, because they had to collect the machete, the pot, the flint. So he tried to climb it. Then Kyle catches up. He just breaks the tree down. He starts macheting it. Then he just pushes the tree down the rest of the way, grabs it. Then Kyle is the first to the container, starts filling up his water. He's pouring a lot in, but he's missing. Kevin gets there. He goes slow and steady, and ultimately Kyle rushing cost him. Kyle, he turns with the pot in his hands, breaks the container. It's a glass container. Breaks it, shatters. He broke the challenge. He can't win. But Kyle does, however, go over, start filling up water still with his pot, and helps Kevin finish and helps Kevin win. Kyle, we love Kyle. I think Kyle, with that right there, Kyle showed me, hey, this is a guy I'm going to be rooting for. He was already somebody that I had finishing in the top 4 in my predictions early on in the season. He is somebody that I'm going to be rooting for all the way. Love Kyle. That he was able to help Kevin out there. Then we go to Vula, who is excited to see Kevin returning with the supplies. Mary makes a fire. First try. Mary says she's never done it. Don't believe that. Looked really good. Mary says it. We'll believe Mary, but I'm not so sure. Then Mary and Kevin are vibing at the tribe. I think there might be a little bit of alliance there, but pause it on the alliance talks because somebody does get voted off later in the episode. Then we get Say, and this is where I finally wrote how to say his name. I wrote Sai, and then in parentheses Say. Brings Kevin in on the 4, but then Kevin says that, hey, I kind of like Mary. I kind of want to be in that Mary alliance. Kevin's in a good spot. He's playing in the middle. Dangerous spot, but good spot early on. Then we go to Siva's tribe. David and Mitch start to notice some animals all around, drawn on tree branches, whatever. They find some black string, and then they leave it to greet Kyle. Kyle says, hey, I'm an English teacher. He's actually a lawyer. He's a lawyer. Don't believe Kyle there. But anyways, he was trying to gain trust after coming back with nothing. And then David's like, you know what? Kyle is not anything like me. If I was on the challenge, we would have won. But I do trust Kyle. So I do like him. David had to get like, oh, I'm better than you. But David likes Kyle. He does like Kyle. He tells everyone about what him and David then goes on and tells everybody about what him and Mitch found. There's not much for them to do. And then Charity says, hey, I wouldn't have told people. She says that in a confessional, but Charity wouldn't have told people. Now, Charity concerns me. I had Charity in the top 2. Not a great episode out of Charity. Not at all. Very, very worried with Charity. Very worried. Then we go to the Logie tribe. Logie tribe Star says, hey, our tribe's fire. Everyone knows what we're doing out here. Everybody's impressed with Eva. However, this is when Eva then goes on to talk about her journey with autism. She is gathering bamboo. Everybody's like hyping her up for gathering bamboo, but she's saying, hey, I'm doing that so that it can help me like focus. That is why she's doing the bamboo. Then Joe goes ahead, makes fire just like that. Joe wants to be remembered in this game as a loyal and good dude, is what he said. And then we see Eva and Joe this is the first time we've seen it in this episode. We'll see it again later. We see them come together and they're like, hey, are we good? And then Eva's like, I want you to be my number 1. And Joe's like, yeah, I'll be your ride or die. So that's our first sign for Eva and Joe's potential alliance there. Then we go to Vula. Stephanie, she said, I see Say as somebody who is playing hard too early. I'm sitting on my hands. I want to do what Say's doing, but Say's not doing it. So she's dangerous. Watch out for Say, basically, is what you're getting at. And then Say goes to the core 4 guys and tells them, hey, one of us need to get an idol. We need to have the idol. I don't want Mary having it. I don't want Steph having it. Those two are sitting around at camp, not really doing much, saying, hey, Say's playing hard. She's going to find an idol, blah, blah, blah. Go do something. Go do something, Steph and Mary. Say then finds a beware advantage, and it is it's like this It's like a tube with a code with a word you have to figure out with a lock code on it. And I actually did. I wrote in parentheses. I think this has to do with the animals and stuff that were at Siva. We find out at this one it did have things to do with it. But until Sei can figure it out, she has no vote. Then Sei's like, hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take this to the group of 4, and we're gonna figure it out. So we are left there. We don't know if it happens yet. Then we go to Logie. And Star says, hey, it's nice getting to know these people, but I want an advantage. I want security in the game. I don't really care for talking around. I want an advantage. And then everybody in the tribe's like, hey, where's Star? Star, we gotta calm down, Star. See, Sei got away with it because Sei had a group to do it. Star, I have you as my winner pick. You gotta slow down. Shaheen and Joe say, hey, we might need to get rid of her. They don't commit to anything. They're just like, hey, she's gonna be a little bit of a wild card. We gotta get rid of her. Then we have Thomas once again saying, hey, I love Shaheen and Joe. Then they called themselves the California Girls. That's what they're calling themselves. Thomas also says, hey, I love Eva, but I think maybe Bianca is better off to join the California Girls. He likes both of them. The only one we don't hear Thomas say anything about yet again is Star. So Star, not really in an alliance here in Logie. Eva then opens up to Joe. And this is where I'm talking about. We love Joe. We love Eva. This is peak. This is absolutely peak. Eva opens up to Joe about the autism that she has, and Joe completely accepting. Shout out to Joe. Shout out to Eva for the courage of opening up to Joe, and shout out to Joe for being accepting. She kind of tells him what to look out for, what necessarily she might need in a given moment if he picks up on signs that she might be stressing out or something. How to comfort her, to squeeze her hands, to make her feel better. So Joe obviously wants to help her out here, and we kind of talked about this coming into the season. Joe's just like that good dad figure, and that's what you get here. I wrote this down. There is no way in this season that Joe and Eva can split. We even hear it from Joe. Joe's all in on Eva. He says, you know what? Even if it ruins my game, I will do everything in my power to not let Eva down and try to be there for her. So, absolutely love that from Joe. Eva, very glad she was able to find a alliance member that she could open up to and be authentic with, and now you get Joe in her corner for presumably the rest of the game. Hopefully they both make it far, but very, very good stuff. Big episode for those two. Then we go to CO. My laptop is very close to dying. Good thing my charger is right here, which it's usually not, by the way, if you were wondering. Then we go to Siva. We start with David doing some icebreakers. He's talking about what he likes to do, this, that, and the other, how he likes his steak cooked. Don't really care too much about it. And then we see Charity saying, I like my steak medium well. And then this is the first sign of somebody, even though I feel like it's kind of joking, Kyle gets professional. He's like, medium well? That's like psychotic. We need to get her out of the game. I know he's joking in that moment, but this kind of starts to unravel here for Charity. Very nervous for her. Kyle and then Camilla, both love the movie Holes and The Departed. I was trying to read what I said, but it literally is what I said. And then we see them bond about a couple different other things, right? And they realize, hey, we have a lot in common. So Kyle and Camilla could be a little bit of a duo there. Charity then puts it in Camilla's mind that, hey, Kyle's dangerous. If anybody has an idol, it's him. Camilla then straight up just walks over to Kyle and is like, so, yeah, this is what happened. So Kyle's like, you know what? I want to work with Camilla. Kyle then goes up and approaches Chrissy with Camilla right next to him, and Chrissy's like, I haven't heard that floated around. Has she been mentioning my name? Nope. And then Camilla, we hear Camilla have a confession where it's like, hey, I wanted to create chaos and throw Charity under the bus, and that's exactly what happened. We see David brought in on this. David says, why are we even having these conversations? Nothing's even happened yet. So this all happens, right? Camilla started this whole unraveling for Charity, and everyone seems to be against her. The group right now against Charity is Camilla, Chrissy, David, Kyle, and who are we forgetting in that group? Siva? It looks like we are forgetting Mitch. Mitch is not in the group. At least I don't believe he is in the group that is against. We didn't hear much from Mitch. I'm a big fan of Mitch, but I don't think we heard too much from him. But yeah, Charity. My 1 and 2, my 3 with Joe looks real good. My 4 with Kyle looks real good. My 5 with Thomas, I think looks pretty good. Even my 6 with Kevin looks good. But my 1 and 2, Star and Charity, bad episodes. Not very. If I could, I would change those ones. And we will re-rank at, not this week, but probably in the next week or two. At the end of these videos, I'll give an updated ranking of who I think will win. But there's really no need to do it right now. Too many people still left in the game right now to do that. But my two winner picks, or at least the 2 top ones, you're making me look bad. You both look like you might be pre-merge. Vula, we then get Say freaking out about, hey, I need to get this Beware advantage solved today. So Cedric then, he's like, okay, well, she told me about it for sure. I trust her. She's in the 4. Kevin and Cedric both trying to help her. Say remembers the symbols that I was talking about. She remembers them. The code is listen. She figures it out. Cedric helps find the code because it kind of gave a bunch of letters. He put them all together. Justin just sits around during this whole thing. Justin, to me, just, once again, I don't really see too much out of Justin. He's just there. I think he'll be a part of this group. But I think if you were rating the group on where they rank, if they had to vote each other out, I think he is at the bottom of that group. Does Justin figure that out, though? I don't know. Say then has the idol, and she then says, and I don't know if this is some teaser for what's to happen later, I got my first idol on Survivor. First idol. She plans on getting more. Then we get to the immunity challenge. This is sort of an obstacle course with a puzzle at the end, kind of a variation, once again, of things we've already seen. You break open a tiki face, get a key, you carry a box with puzzle pieces, lift them over some sandbags, then you pull the box up and do a puzzle after you unlock your pieces or whatever. Logie, once again, dominant. And then you leave Siva and Vula neck and neck. A little bit, though. Vula was up by maybe 2 or 3 pieces, and they collapsed. They couldn't figure out how to put one of the pieces in. I thought they had the piece right, but Stephanie really struggled to get the piece in. Siva wins. I wrote this. Stephanie seemed to be the one who couldn't figure out how to finish the puzzle. So then we go back. We're obviously with Vula for the remainder of the show. They are the ones being eliminated. I kind of already alluded to that. Not advertently, but with some of the stuff I just gonna go into, I'm like, hey, let me dial it back. Vula is going to tribal. Stephanie then says, hey, the vibe, everybody around me kind of just, it feels like everybody's against me right now, so let me say, hey, sorry for messing up on the puzzle. And everybody's like, okay. Then immediately we cut to Say. She's like, I'm ticked off. I'm done. Cedric's like, yeah, she's panicking. She looks at the other teams during the puzzle. She wasn't really focused. We can't really... What are we going to do with her? And then we get to Kevin, who was also on the puzzle. He messed up, but not as badly, in my opinion. Kevin's like, I don't really care what happens as long as it's not me. Shout out to Kevin. Shout out to Kevin. Then we get to Say, once again, a lot of Say. And can't see how she would ever work with Steph, being that she just doesn't see how it could happen. Mary then says that she wants to get Say out because she lacks trust in Say. Justin knows the plan and he feels like he has to make a decision while being... Where am I missing words here? I think I completely missed this. Anyways, Say told Justin, hey, we need to go after Steph. We can't work together. Then Mary says to Justin, with Steph around also, hey, we got to get Say. We lack trust in her. So he's in the middle of those two alliances. But from the Mary situation, I'm like, well, surely Justin goes back and tells Say, right? Because it felt like he was kind of in that group. Well, no. He goes back, doesn't say anything about it to the core four. He's like, all they did is just ask me who I thought was, and then I was like, each person has their weaknesses and strengths. There's also an idea floated around with Justin that they could bring in Kevin, and it'd be Kevin, Justin, Mary, and Steph. So now we have two groups of four being floated around, both of which have Kevin and Justin in the middle. So now we have Kevin feeling trust towards Mary. Kevin and Justin are both aware that they're in the middle. So it's kind of funny if you think about it, because now we got Steph and Say, clearly the two on the chopping block. Kind of went at it earlier in the episode, not at each other specifically, but like kind of subconsciously, where Say's like playing the game exactly that Steph wants to play, but Steph's not playing it. So Steph's like, hey, we'll see at the end of this whether sitting back and letting what happens, or playing a game right out the beginning, a hot game right out the beginning. We'll see who really comes out on top. And then we go to Tribal. And Say and Steph both had a bad Tribal. They get into this argument, not really fully sure what it's even about. They start talking about air signs, and then Say's like, this is why I can't really work with people with the same air signs, because I don't trust them, this, that, and the other. And Steph's like, continuing this, and Say's like, let's just stop this talk. So it's clear that it's the two of them. It really is. I wrote here, and I'm pretty glad to say she didn't, but I wrote here, please play idle Say. So Say in the voting booth says, I think Steph played the shot in the dark. She's correct, actually. So she did play it, and Steph, drum roll please, not safe. Not safe. So Jeff gets to reading the votes. We get 1 vote for Say, 4 votes Steph. The core 4 with the boys is the ultimate alliance at the moment. Mary being the only one to vote against Say. So very, very bold, big first episode. So much so that I'm like already begging them in the final like 5-10 minutes. I'm like, please Say, just play your idol. I can't lose more Say on TV. Say was a home run. Whoever casted Say, great work. Home run pick right there. Say on TV episode 1. I don't know how far she goes, because she is playing a hard game, and I think people are going to be aware of that. But if we can get Say in the merge and deep into the game, we're going to have a season full of fun. Now, the thing is with this cast, I think there's a lot of fun on the season. We're going to look at my rankings here. I rated 18th for Justin, like I said. Wasn't really too impressed. He kind of just sits on the side, doesn't really... I think he'll play more of a middling game, and I am worried that he won't really make moves. Bianca didn't really get a read, other than Thomas is a fan of her. Shaheen, I think he will be in a relatively strong position. I do like that Shaheen is kind of aligning himself to be in that Joe Thomas group. And then I think we're going to... That group might not be as strong as it initially think it is, though, because I think Joe's really going to push hard for Eva, and then you're going to have Thomas really push hard for Bianca. And I think Shaheen will also push for Eva, but I am concerned. I am concerned there that maybe Eva gets left in the dust there. I don't think Joe would vote against Eva at any point. I really hope not. So it's going to be kind of all up on Shaheen. So it'll be up to Shaheen if he can get the job done and go with the Joe Eva side of the California girls rather than the Thomas Bianca side, which could potentially happen. So we'll be looking out for that. But Shaheen, I think, is in a good position, a crucial position there on Lagi. Chrissy, I'm going to be honest, I think Chrissy's going to be okay. Didn't get a great read on her this episode. She seems likable, though. I think she'll be able to make some decent relationships. I don't think it's going to be the first Siva voted off like I put here. Then we get Mary. Well, Mary was the only one to go against Say. Seems like Mary's probably the next out the door if Vula goes to Tribal. Tough day for Mary. David, pleasantly surprised. I had him as a pre-merge. David, I'm a fan of David. I think he had a pretty good episode. So watch out for David to move up. Stephanie, I had at 12th. Did not. She got out. Wasn't really impressed with her in the game. Camilla at 11. I think Camilla's dangerous. She might move up. She might move up the rankings now. How oblivious is everybody else to her danger? That's going to be the real question. But Camilla's dangerous. Mitch, I got a soft spot for Mitch, man. I really do. He's just like a nice guy, just one of those guys that if I was playing the game, I'd team up with somebody like Mitch. I think he'll play a nice, honest game. I think he'll probably be safe until Emerge, but wasn't super impressed with his game. Eva, like I said, we love Eva. Great episode for Eva. I think she set herself up great joining Joe, and even potentially breaking into that California Girls Alliance. And on top of that, being the kind of taking the provider role as the youngest person on the tribe, I think that also will gain a lot of respect. People will view her as much more mature than her age, which will help move her along in the game. So you're not getting, hey, let's just get this person that doesn't really mesh with us. It's going to be, hey, this person's like actually lived life experiences. We're gonna like, we know we can work with her. Say, if I were to re-vote right now, Say's my winner pick. I don't know if it's true. I would want Say to win at this moment in time. I would. I don't think she'll get there, because in order to get there, I think she's going to have to like completely just like, hey, well, everybody currently outside of Mary knows she has an idol. She's got to burn that pretty quickly. She's got to eliminate any target off her back. And then she's just got to play a game that just go under the radar. Just now, like Gabler, right? Gabler, the alligator, go underwater and then come back and strike. That's the kind of game Say needs to play at the moment. A lot of momentum early. Really, really worried about Say though. Cedric, I like Cedric. Got good vibes off him. Mentioned that a little bit. Kevin, same thing. Love Kevin. Think he'll be great for the season. Thomas, same thing there. Got good vibes off Thomas. I am just a little bit worried that he might take the Bianca side of the argument. And Bianca, not one that I think really showed that much in the show tonight. Then you get to Kyle. Obviously, I'll go to bat for Kyle. Earned a lot of a lot of brownie points there with the journey challenge, right? Loved how he did there. And then he's also somebody that, like, just seems to be always going to be able to make a good relationship with somebody. So Kyle, obviously we know. Joe, we've already praised Joe enough on this show, or on this episode tonight. But Joe, obviously we know we'll be rooting for Joe. Charity and Star at 1 and 2. Outside of Stephanie, because Stephanie got eliminated, Charity and Star might have had the worst episodes. They are legitimately the bottoms of their tribe. I don't think I could have gone as, like, wrong. I don't think I could have got more wrong. Like, I look at Star's tribe, which is Lagi. Where is, outside of Star playing a tough game early and, like, going off on her own and doing things and, like, trying to figure things out and find an idol, who? She's not a part of the California Girls. We don't really see anything with her, Eva, Bianca, anything. Where does Star fit into an alliance? That's really concerning. And then you get to the same thing with Charity, where you look at the Siva players. The only one that we don't get as potentially anti-Chrissy out of Siva, or not Chrissy, anti-Charity out of Siva, is Mitch. And I think Mitch is more likely to go with the numbers than to go against the numbers and play a loyal game with Charity. I don't think Charity would be the one to reel him in. I think he'd be more loyal to somebody like Kyle. So, I don't... Very bad winner, or top 2 by me. If I could go back and reverse that top 2, it's terrible. It's terrible. I'm being very serious. I want to eliminate that top 2. That top 2, not it. It's not it. If I could go back and edit the video, we would flip those 2 probably to pre-merge. Not a good episode, and I hope they can bounce back, because I had such high hopes for them in the beginning of the year, or well, not the beginning of the year, the beginning of the season, and they completely dropped the ball. They dropped the ball. They're the bottom of the tribe. How are you the bottom of the tribe? How? The one thing I did get right is that the Vula tribe was going to be the first one to lose. Now, they didn't vote off Justin, though. They voted off Stephanie. Didn't get a great vibe off Justin, but the Vula lost. So, at least I got something right. But the winner picks, ooh, those look bad right now. Just absolutely terrible. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.